Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. What an honor to have one of my, um, I don't know, Tom, I don't know what I owe you. I owe you a lot for sure. You got me in to the trading game. Amazingly, you guys, Tom Sosnoff, uh, I found him accidentally on Roku back in about 2012. And my life was forever changed. Tom, do you remember when poker was really big? When Chris Moneymaker was big and won the World Series of Poker?
I feel like I remember it like it was yesterday. Sure.
Yeah, seemed like yesterday. So during that time, I got really interested in poker, and I was playing online poker. And my wife didn't know that I was actually using money to play online poker. So she found that out. She said, "You have got to give this up." And it was about that same time that she said, "Why don't you do something? You went to school for finance, Bobby. Why don't you do something with stocks? Why don't you do something with all of that?" And about the same time, Tom, is when I found you and Tony, and my life was forever changed. So it was, I don't know if it was accident or fortuitous, whatever, but it was a cool thing in my life that you came along at that time.
Well, that's cool. I love it. Good to hear.
So Tom is the CEO and founder of Tasty Live. He was also, Tom, correct me if I'm wrong if I say this incorrectly, but you were the founder or co-founder of Thinkorswim as well.
Yeah, I was the founder and CEO.
And it's kind of one thing, Tom. I mean, you trying to outdo yourself or something. It's one thing to create a single entity that is $1 billion enterprise, but you actually went out and created two entities that are over $1 billion enterprises. How does that feel?
Feels pretty good.
Yeah, I can imagine so. So
Yeah,
what
feels
we've
good.
got, yeah, Tom, what we've got here is a group of, we've got a lot of traders who are in my own trading room, but we've also got my class from the University of Alabama, and they are preparing to be certified financial planners. And one of the first things that we showed them was the 10 questions that you recorded on things to ask your financial planner. I thought that was really good, and that created a lot of discussion. You got any comment on any of those 10 questions, Tom? And you're speaking to the future financial planners going out into the market.
Well, first of all, then welcome everybody, and thanks for the kind intro. No, I'm excited about all these young smart people getting involved in the world of finance. I think it's super cool. So, no, I mean, I honestly don't. I don't. Like I think everybody's so young and so early in their careers. I for sure don't want to. I don't want to influence what people may think is important or may not think is important. I think that's the kind of stuff you figure out on your own, over time.
I'm kind of the same way with this investments class, Tom. I feel like that I need to show them what I was shown in my investments classes over the years. Basically, some of the theory behind investments from the egghead uh, educators out there. But at the same time, I want them to know about that there's an entirely unknown world out there, to where there are options and derivatives and things where you can reduce cost basis in your positions. So I want them to kind of figure it out on their own, not to just be, passive investors or put things in the S&P 500 or Vanguard and do all of this, but I want them to be exposed to the active element as well. Kind of tell us your thoughts, Tom. I know where you stand, but maybe they don't. What do you think as those people that are here that are going to be financial planners about straddling on the fence of being passive investors, ETLs, putting it in SPY, letting it run, versus being actively involved in your account?
Well, I mean, this is probably a conversation that we could write a book about, but I think in general, um, when you're getting into the world of finance, you want to be. It's really important to be able to differentiate yourself. And in order to differentiate yourself, because otherwise you're just, you don't want to be the same as everybody else. You have to differentiate yourself. And in order to differentiate yourself, you have to be able to talk about and articulate things. And that means you need to know a lot about strategic finance. Otherwise, it's just all subjective kind of crap. And it might not be crap. It might just be subjective, subjective bull, whatever. I think your ability to articulate strategic finance is the first few steps in creating a certain differentiating aspect of your personality and of your experience that is critical to separating yourself from everybody else, and also understanding really what finance is, beyond the very limited and surface-like area of passive investing. So I think it requires, I think everybody on here, one of the things, Bobby, that I love about what you do, and one of the things that's so important in the world of academia and teaching about finance is, you encourage people to get involved in the markets, to trade, to take some risk, to make some decisions, to use some strategies, to be product indifferent, to be agnostic to strategy. All that kind of stuff is so crazy critical to, to learning how to articulate about this business and talk about the things you do and get people excited. The only way you can really display your passion for something is if you know more than everybody else. And I think that's the real skill in finance. And I don't think very many people have it. And I think you guys are lucky, you've got Bobby to lead the kind of the charge here. And I think if you walk away from this with a different perspective, it's probably going to pay dividends for many, many, decades to come. If you love this business, you'll be in it for the next 4 decades. So, so I think there's, you want to learn as much as you can and experience as much as you can when you're just starting out. At least that's the way I always approached it, and it worked for me.
So Tom, tell everybody about your background, where you started out as far as trading and everything. They probably would love to hear the story of where you actually came from.
I grew up in suburbs of New York City, in a, just pretty much a blue collar, neighborhood, whatever. But my dad was a civil rights attorney and my mom was an art teacher. So I didn't have any finance in my life growing up. I mean, I didn't understand any of it. So I was a political science major thinking I was going to end up in some kind of some politics, law, whatever. I didn't even know. And it was the end of a very difficult recession when I got out of school. And so my first job offer came from a company on Wall Street, and I just took it. And I didn't even have any idea what I was getting into. And I've been here now, 42, 43 years straight. I only lasted about 6 or 7 months on Wall Street because I got I was single. Somebody gave me an offer to come to Chicago and go on the trading floor. I didn't even know what it meant, but I just took it because I had nothing to lose. I just did it, and I've been here in Chicago ever since. So that's kind of my background. I didn't have any idea, wasn't as lucky as you guys. I didn't have somebody to introduce me to the space, but I got lucky coming to Chicago, fell in love with the business, and I've been kind of having fun and teaching myself and doing, trading for, 40 some odd years now, nonstop. So, my expertise is that I'm really a junkie, and I can talk the talk with anybody. And so, I mean, when it comes to options, futures, derivatives, I think I can talk about this space as, on any level with any person. And I think that's kind of cool. And that's a differentiator. And that's why I'm here talking to you guys today. And we've been able to parlay that into, multiple businesses and things like that. But I think that's all, kind of par for the course.
And as a political science major, Tom, with you having such success in the trading industry, both as a business owner and actually as a trader, how many investments courses did you have in your political science curriculum?
0.
Which is
I don't
good.
even know. Yeah, it is good. But I also came from an era when business wasn't even, you know, I don't even know if we had a business degree, honestly, back then. So I think it's a little different. I mean, there was economics, but I don't know if there was business. So I'm not sure. Uh, I think when you're a kid, when you're in college and you're, 18 or 19 or 20, it's really hard to know what you're going to end up doing. Um, I always loved math, and I always loved risk. And so I didn't know this business existed, but once I got in it, I was trapped because I never wanted to get out because it was something that I was good at. But I think that, you know, I was never really interested in passive finance because that actually never, I had almost no interest at all, even from day one in, passive, in passive investing. And I'll tell you a funny story. When I first got to, my first job was with Drexel Burnham. They're no longer around, but they were a kind of the premier boutique firm in America in, the early 80s before they blew up in a junk bond fiasco. But when I got my job with them, I learned about options in about the first month. I don't know how, just from taking the tests. And I made more option trades as a retail employee than they had about 2,000 employees than every other employee combined. And I was only like 22 or 23. And they thought there was something wrong with me. Like I had a sick, like I was, they wanted to, they thought there was something wrong with me. I'll leave it at that. I didn't have any money either. I only had a couple $1,000s. And so, and commissions were like $25 a trade. And somehow I survived. I don't know how. But I guess that was a precursor to knowing that I wasn't going to last very long in the traditional side of the business. I think everybody that's listening today, the fact that you're, getting into this industry is awesome. And who knows what part of the industry that you'll ultimately end up in. But one of the coolest things is when you're first starting out is you start to network with people and you start to talk and you find out what turns you on, like where your passions are. And then you'll figure out, what area of the business. Some of you will go into the active side. Some of you will go into the money management side. Some of you will go on the investment banking side. Some of you will not stay in the business. I mean, it's just math. The majority of you will end up somewhere in the middle of the distribution curve, and that's still a pretty good place to be. So, that's just how I look at this business. It's the coolest business around, and I hope everybody realizes and appreciates the opportunity they have.
Tom, you were in the pits, the wild, wild west. If anybody will Google,
Yeah.
the stock market pits and see the people yelling and screaming
Yeah.
and doing. I mean, you were in the kind of the wild, wild west of trading. But then I guess it was the late 1990s, and you kind of look around and you realize that the entire industry is about to change.
So I started out on the trading floor in Chicago, like thousands and thousands of other young people with no idea like kind of where we were going to end up. But in an open outcry system, which was all, screaming and yelling and, whatever, which was great. It was the coolest thing ever. And, I wouldn't trade it for anything. But in the late 90s, you could tell that technology was advancing at a pace faster than a lot of us could appreciate. And it became evident to me at some point that the servers were going to take over and we were going to go to electronic system. It didn't become evident to everybody, but it was like staring me in the face. And that's why we went out and built Thinkorswim. It was a complete shot too, because, I just worked for 20 years and took all the money we had made and built it with it. It was kind of dangerous. It wasn't probably the brightest, well, in hindsight, it was the brightest use of my money, but at the time, like we didn't really know if what we were doing was the smart thing to do. So, but you're right, Bobby. I did see something. I don't know what I saw, but I saw something that made me want to do something different.
Was it that you feared that, hey, this is all going electronic. I'm going to be out of a job. I don't know what I'll do. I mean, was it
I
kind of
don't think it was that I feared it. I think that I always thought I could survive in the trading pits forever, but it was that I thought there was more opportunity somewhere else for the first time. So it was the first time I ever felt like, hey, you know what? I think there's more opportunity somewhere else.
So tell us about Scott. I mean, did you come to Scott? You guys get together, you start talking about this. Hey, I've got this idea. And I mean, did people think
Scott was a couple years younger than me. He's about 6 years younger than me.
Mhm.
We met in 1980, just after the crash of 87. We met in 88 and we formed a partnership in the end of 88. So we've been together now for 30, almost 35 years. And we built a small, not high frequency firm at the time, but a small prop firm where we had traders, we had back traders all over, Chicago and New York, a place like that. And I had this idea so we had been partners for like 11, 12 years by the time, 1999 came around. And I had this idea to build Thinkorswim. And I just went to Scott and said, let's do this. And he's like, Scott's he's like, fuck it, let's do it. Like he didn't care. And he's like, yeah, I'm ready to try something else too. And so, we shared everything, we shared money, we basically would split our money anyway. So we just took the money we had made, put it in a pot and built it. And the rest kind of, we raised some capital and there was no such thing as entrepreneurship really. So it's kind of a different world, but we figured it out and we got some people to invest in us and then we took it from there.
Tell us about some of the obstacles and some of the doors that were closed in your face as you guys are going, look, here's our idea and you're trying to raise money. I can imagine that money was not just thrown at you. I would imagine there were a lot of closed doors along the way.
There were, but you got to remember, we weren't 23. I was, 43, whatever, well, at the time. So, and we had a lot of experience and we were good salespeople, and we were also for floor traders, we were very successful. So we had a reputation of oh these guys are among the best traders in Chicago, blah blah blah. So we had a good reputation. So that helped us a lot, but we still had to learn how to raise money. That was the easy part. The hardest part for us was we weren't that smart technology wise, and neither of us were technologists, and we didn't know how to build a complex trading platform, and we didn't know enough about technology to be able to build what we had envisioned was our next mission in life. So that was the biggest challenge, was finding really smart people to help us build a piece of technology that had never been built before, because we didn't know how to do it.
Tom, this is so important as we're trying to encourage our students here to take risk in life, to do these things. So even though you had no idea how you were going to do what you do, you were smart enough to realize that you could find the people to surround you with, that you knew what you wanted it to do, I guess. You just didn't know how to accomplish it.
Yeah, I don't know if it was because we were smart or we were stupid. Like, I'm not sure which one we were, but we were confident. We were like, I wouldn't say we were egomaniacs, but we were stupidly confident. Like, we were overconfident. And so I think that at that point, we just believed that we would figure it out, and we did. We didn't actually know we could, but we just believed that we could. So, we met some. I'll tell you the story behind it because it's actually pretty interesting. We didn't know where to find developers, and in 1999, that was the .com boom, and every U.S. developer was like book solid. This country was out of control software wise. You couldn't find a developer anywhere. So I went to programming competitions that the IBM held something called Programming Olympics. And these programming competitions, they would hold in different universities around America and around the world. But I went to the ones in the US. And I just sat there and watched some of these crazy smart kids from all over the world, Poland, Russia, India, Asia, different places in Asia, and just kind of hung out like, just trying to figure out, hey, why are these kids any different? Like, these are college kids, like why isn't Microsoft here? Why isn't Google here? Why aren't every big tech firm in the world other than IBM, like, where is everybody? And I met these kids from St. Petersburg, Russia, and there was 4 of them, and they were a team that had been together since they were in, maybe, let's call it like 6th or 7th grade, and they were total geeks. And they decided they wanted to build a dev firm together. They were about 20, 21 years old. They had no money. And we made a deal. And we've been working together ever since 1999. Now we started them in a garage in Russia with no heat. And we reverse smuggled servers from Chicago into Russia, Sun servers, so we could build a dev platform in their garage in Russia, because we couldn't find any developers in the US. And today they are the largest fintech dev firm in the world, with about 1,100 developers all around the world. They build the platforms for TD, Schwab, TD Bank in Canada, Robinhood, Tasty. I mean, they basically build every piece of financial software in the world. And we literally started them with 4 kids in an unheated garage in St. Petersburg, Russia. It's a crazy story. And we're still building stuff today together. Even though we have our own dev team, obviously, in Chicago, and we have had for the last 20 years, we still we still partners, and it's an incredible relationship. They're no longer in Russia. They're now, because of crazy Putin and everything, they're now all over the world, scattered, but it's just a remarkable story, and they're one of the most successful dev firms, in the world. So crazy story. And who would have known 22 years ago that's what this would have turned out to be?
And I mean, you got to sit there and think, as the growth of Thinkorswim, as it was growing, I mean, crazy growth. Do you ever look around and go, this is exactly what we thought it was going to be? Or did you pinch yourself and go, it's much more?
Our original idea was something very different. And these kids, even though they were geniuses, and when I say geniuses, they literally are geniuses. But at the time, they didn't know anything about US option markets. They didn't know anything. None of them had ever been to the US before. So it was, except for, these programming competitions. So it was a crazy, we were all kind of lying to each other, thinking, somebody's got to know something more than we know. But we had a vision, and we hired some really smart people here in the US. And you know what? If you kill yourself, you bust your ass. And, I mean, I literally worked day and night. I still do today. I mean, my crazy schedule, Bobby. I work, I don't need to, but I'm a junkie. I still work, 14 or 15 hours a day. It's insane.
Yeah. And Tom is strange. You send him an email, and you may get an email from him at 3 a.m. And that's one of the amazing things, y'all, with the incredible success he has, he still answers all of his own emails.
It's a sickness, not something to be proud of.
Well, knowing that your schedule is like that, Tom, it had to have been a difficult decision, because I don't see you ever at a point to where you're going to retire. I just got off a cruise, Tom, and I told Liz and Jenny, I said, no way Tom's going to let you guys do a tasty cruise. I said he would be miserable. I mean, just sitting on that boat and doing all the stuff.
I was on a cruise one time, and I almost had a helicopter come get me.
Yeah.
I was the worst. You will never see me on a boat again. I couldn't. That cruise to me was the worst vacation of my life. I will never do it again. Never.
As I was sitting there standing in line to eat, I was like, oh, Tom would never do this. Tom would never do this.
Never in a million years.
But so you had to come to a point to where you were like, hey, I'm going to let loose of my baby. we've got offers to sell where you actively sell. I mean, that just had to be tough, Tom, knowing that you love the work that you were doing to let go of the baby, even though you were, well compensated for it. Talk to us about
You
that whole
know,
process.
it's a weird thing. As a trader, you become a little bit detached from, I don't fall in love with my trades. I mean, listen, I love what I do, but I don't fall in love with stuff. Um, like, I don't ever shop anything we have. Like, I've never shopped one of our businesses, but for whatever reason, after a certain period of time, people will find you. If you build something really cool, people will find you and they'll come after you. When one person comes after you, somehow the word gets out there, then everybody comes after you. When we didn't get a single offer for Thinkorswim until the 10th year, and then we got 5 offers. We didn't get a single offer for Tasty in the first 10 years. And at the end of the 10th year, we had 5 cash offers. So, and eventually when you have that kind of interest, you make a decision as a team. I've been with the same team now we've been together now for, me and Scott, 35 years, the rest of us 20 some odd years. So we've been working together and building companies together. And we just sit around and we say, hey, you know what? Maybe it's time to do something different, change it up, and so that's how we think about it. Like I never wanted to sell Thinkorswim, but I'm glad we did because we built Tasty. I never wanted to sell Tasty, but I'm glad we did because now I get to do other stuff. Even though I'm still working at Tasty, I get to build, I built an exchange, which we then sold. Now we're potentially about to buy back. We're looking at, I'm building 3 other platforms right now that are both global and domestic. I mean, I get to do stuff I love to do. It's cool.
So the plan, though, when you sold out of Thinkorswim was never to, I'm going to the beach and I'm going to enjoy the rest of my life.
No, I don't even like 3-day weekends. So no, I'm actually, no, not even for 1 second. I mean, I'm not a good, no, I'm not a good family person, whatever you want to call it. That's not me.
Okay. So, Tom, how soon after you've sold Thinkorswim that you start saying, I've got to do something else? We've got to start something else, and tell us how Tasty then comes along.
Well, I actually, when I sold Thinkorswim, I signed a multi-year deal to stay on and help run it for them, and which I did for 2 years. But I just didn't like working for TD Ameritrade. They were a good company. I just didn't like, and they left me alone. But I don't like going to meetings and I don't like having bosses, and I've always worked for myself. So when I went to the CEO at the time and said, listen, and we're still friends today. So it wasn't like, it was a very positive thing. And I said, I got an idea for building something else. I'll let you be my partner. That was my line to TD. And their CEO said, how much money do you need? I said, well, you put up 20 million and I'll put up 20 million and we'll build another company. And he said, done. And so that was how easy it was. We agreed on the spot, and I left the next day and started to build Tasty, and they were my partner. We eventually bought them out.
So you start Tasty, and I remember when I first found Tasty, I was like, who are these guys? What are they doing? They were talking about interesting stuff, but I didn't know who you were at the time. And I find out who you are, but then I'm sitting there thinking, how is this going to make him money? I mean, you go into business to make money, and Tom, I'm not sure that you knew at the time how the business was going to make money, or were you this mastermind behind the whole thing that goes, I'm going to get people addicted to the content that we provide. We're going to provide quality content, and then I will figure out a way to monetize that. Or did you have the plan all along about the brokerage service that would kind of be the sister company?
The next brokerage firm was never in the plans, but the plan always was to build a content marketing company. And the funny thing that people don't know about Tasty is that it was profitable from day one. And Um, we we have been in business for after leaving the trading floor since the end of 1999, and we have not had a single month in building two companies. We have not had a single month that we weren't profitable since the day we launched Thinkorswim till the day we launched Tasty till today. So, and we do whatever, 250 million dollars a year in revenue. And we've never not been profitable, not even for a month, not even probably for a week. So I'm very much a free market, a free cash flow, free market capitalist, but I'm also focused on building businesses that make money. Um, I believe there's other ways to build businesses. I'm just not very good at it. So I've always built businesses that make money.
And anytime that you make money, Tom, there are going to be competitors who try to enter the space.
I don't care about competitors.
You don't care about competitors. Tell us
No,
about
I
that.
don't.
You have competitors like Robinhood that enters the space. You have
Yeah,
all
I
these
know.
people.
I don't pay any attention at all to any competitors on any level ever from day one. I think people that do that, that worry about who their competition is and what their competition is doing. Do you know that when we were bought out by TD Ameritrade, all they ever used to talk about at every meeting was Schwab. And I was like, will you guys shut the F up? Like, who cares what Schwab's doing? Like our technology is 10 times better, 20 times, 100 times better than theirs. Why do you care what they're doing? And they used to just be like obsessed with Schwab. And I'm like, I can't listen to this anymore. It's the most like, it doesn't mean anything to me. We don't pay any, we don't pay no never mind, as they say, to any other company, whatever they do. It's irrelevant to us. I think in order to build really innovative and creative businesses, you have to kind of have you have to believe in your own vision, and you have to kind of follow your own path, and you can't worry about what other people do. I worry about our customers. That's it. I don't worry about employees. I don't worry about like culture. I don't worry about any of that stuff. I think it's all crap. I just worry about, hey, if my focus is on building cool stuff, challenging everybody that works here and challenging our customers, and then everything else falls into place. I've learned that you can't artificially make something good. You actually have to build something good. And so that's what we do. There's no phoniness here.
Well, and by creating the goodwill that you do with the people that watch the content on Tasty Live, you've built a loyal following that follows over to now the Tasty Trade brokerage. I mean, to me, that was genius. You gave away content. You gave
It's
away
called
research.
goodwill marketing.
Yeah, goodwill marketing.
It's called goodwill marketing, but it's not a very popular marketing approach. When we first built Tasty, I told somebody at TD, because they were an investor, they go, how are you guys going to market? I go, we're going to market through goodwill. They go, you are an idiot. And I'll never forget this conversation. Like, you guys will be out of business in 6 months or a year. And I go, if you guys did goodwill marketing, you'd be out of business in 6 months. But goodwill marketing for us, which is actually very genuine, I don't think so. I think it's going to work. And it did work. And we built the first financial service company ever on the backs of goodwill marketing. I think that if you're genuine and you really provide, like we built a think tank, and I think when you provide good information to smart people, they appreciate it and they'll give you your business.
So, and in doing this, y'all, for those of you that are not familiar with Tasty Live, what Tom did is he hired a bunch of researchers, statisticians, PhDs, and he gets these people together to do quality research so that the people who are out there trading options and derivatives and stocks, to give them quality information and to allow them to use the information to become more successful. To me, that was one of the most brilliant things you did. Tell us about putting the team together that you have.
The idea all along was to build a think tank, but I didn't really know how to do that because first of all, media was new to me. So I was really a trader, and I taught myself technology to a limited extent, but that was that was tough enough. And then I had to teach myself financial media, which was again another hurdle. So building a think tank was hard because I wasn't as smart as the people that I was trying to hire, and I wanted, I wanted a bunch of data scientists and physicists and finance PhDs and all this kind of stuff, and it's hard for me. But we found a bunch of crazy smart kids over the years, and they all, kind of grew up together, and they figured it out, and basically that's how it came together. I don't think there's that much more to it, except again, we try to create very, I think, Bobby, the if you challenge smart people with really creative opportunities, they will embrace it, and they'll engage in it. And that's what we did.
Got a great comment here from Morgan. Morgan says, for that very reason, I'll be transferring my business over to Tasty once you come to Canada. I'm sure you've changed countless lives by providing that information for free. I know you've changed mine.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to be in Canada. We've been trying for 2 years now. Their regulators are a pain in the ass, but we're just about done. But that's the approach a lot of people take. We just do things a little different. And is it scalable? Well, it's scalable to a level where you can build a pretty big company, but it's probably not scalable to like the Charles Schwab size, but it's definitely scalable in our world. And it works for me.
Well, and not only that, Tom, but I've created a little community of traders as well that we trade based on metrics that we got from your research team.
Sure.
Yeah.
You're not alone. There's literally tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people. We've turned millions of people on over the last 20 years, and I love every second of that. Like, I don't have a single regret. It's awesome.
Yeah. And so we use the information that you give us to put things together. And I'm happy to say that as of today, I'm up 6.33% year to date in my portfolio, whereas the S&P 500 is below 3%. So we're kicking booty. And it's based on the metrics that I got from you. So yeah, that's got to be, and I tell people, I said, listen, watch the content, learn about it. For me, having finance degree, economics degree, I had no idea about options. We get to options in the investment class, and those are being taught by people that have never traded an option. They tell us it's speculative at best, and don't really use them anything past maybe a covered call, and then we're on to the next useless information in the investments class.
Yeah, I'm about complete indifference to product. I don't care if it's options or futures or crypto or futures options or stocks. Like, I'm indifferent as long as the markets are liquid, and as long as there's something potentially strategic to do. I'm open to it. I'm not locked into any one sector or any one strategy or anything like that. I think it's important to be, to just basically take everything, do everything. I don't think I don't think any of us should be locked down on any level. So, that's a really important part to me. Success in this business is being really, almost agnostic to anything specific. Like, there's no such thing as a stock specialist or an option specialist or a future specialist. Everybody, they're all the same, and every product is, as long as it's liquid, it's probably priced perfectly.
Well, you'll get a kick out of this, Tom. I was working with a gentleman, and he may even be in here today, and I won't mention his name, but a very successful businessman. He had his own business. He's been in business all these years, and now he's gotten to the point where he's winding his business down, and he's accumulated a lot of investment capital, and he's turned some of it over to a financial advisor, and he wants to manage his own, and he's got a very large account. And he is as excited today at, he's at an age that a lot of people could be retired, And he's as excited today about his trading business that he was opening his construction business, 30 or 40 years ago. I mean, it's just fun to see.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love all the stories, good and bad too. There's a lot of, there's a lot of stories. Well, it didn't work out for me, but I learned how to make better decisions. I learned how to take risks. There's other stories of, this and it changed my life. I'm not going to be, there's no easy formula here. There's there's a decent percentage of people that will, that will blow the doors off to the upside. There's also a decent percentage of people that will completely fail at this. And then there's a lot of people, the majority, that will land somewhere in the middle, just above or below, the averages. And so like, I really do, just hope that the people that embrace, and embrace the opportunity that's in front of them, those are the people that finish or that get to live above that average line, which is, I think, such a critical thing.
Tom, what's next? What do you see next? I mean, I don't see you taking much time off. It is kind of neat to see you taking some Fridays off of late. I don't know if that's travel or you're giving the younger guys an opportunity or a little bit of both. But
I'm trying to give some of the younger people here, some more opportunity. But the same thing is, since the pandemic, we haven't really been on the road since 2020. And I decided I want to get back on the road this year and do live shows. So I have I'm going to be on the road almost 24, no, not 24, almost a dozen times, at least once or twice a month for the entire rest of the year, doing live shows all around the country and a couple outside the US. And so I really love the live speaking engagements. And so I'm trying to, let some other people do like a Friday show so I can take off and get to another city to do a show Saturday morning.
And speaking of which, since we're kind of close in Alabama and Georgia here, Tom is bringing his team to the Bad Trader Tour in Atlanta, and that's going to be on May the 13th on a Saturday. So I just posted the link to that. I think their tickets still available. They're free. So if anybody wants to go from the class or anything, it'd be a great chance for us to all meet up. I think a couple of us are going to get there a few nights before and just get together, and we're going to trade together on Friday. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so it'd be great if anyone wants to go. And look, Tom, I know this is something that you're looking forward to, where I had lunch today, because they don't
Where
have
is
these
that?
in Chicago. Waffle House.
No, we don't have Waffle House. And I like Waffle House, but we don't have them in Chicago.
Yeah, when I
I've
was in
been-
Chicago, I was like, they don't have Waffle House here. This is amazing.
No.
So
No, we don't have Waffle House. But also in Atlanta, the Atlanta show, the Bad Trader show, is a fun show. Like you've been to that one. But I'm also going to be there the night before. I think it's either Thursday or Friday night. I think it's a Thursday night. If you're there, there's a university there in Atlanta. I believe it's called Oglethorpe. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it.
I've heard of Oglethorpe, yes.
Yeah, it's a small liberal arts school, I think. I don't know much about it, but a couple of the professors that lead the business school there have invited me to give a talk, and I think we're going to give an entrepreneurial talk. It's one of my favorite talks on Thursday night. So if you want more information on that, I'm pretty sure it'll be open to the public. It'll be a small crowd for that Thursday night show. But if you want me to send you the information, Bobby, I will.
Oh, that'll be great. I'll reach out to Brittany and get that information. That'd be great.
Yeah, let me just make sure that it's open to the public and it's not, I don't know. I just don't know the size of the room and what they have. So I have to find out the information, but I'll get it for you.
Tom, let me ask you this. It's got to feel good that at least the research and everything that you are doing is making it to college professors and into academia. I mean, that's got to be a great feeling.
It's great. I mean, we've been, I'm doing this with you today. Tomorrow, I have a talk tomorrow afternoon with the MBA program at Pepperdine, which is a school out in California, but we're the head of the business school there. The MBA program there is a Tasty Trader. So we're doing a whole talk at Pepperdine tomorrow afternoon. And then I do a lot of, live events all over. I just did a talk at Notre Dame, I think about a month ago. So in person because it's close to Chicago. But yeah, we're getting pretty interesting engagement from the world of academia. And we have a bunch more shows coming up this year at different universities, in addition to all the other stuff we do. We do a little bit different talk at universities. It's more about differentiation and how to make yourself stand out and things like that. It's actually it's a fun talk for me. And so I love doing that stuff.
Well, what I really like for our students in our class is this. I just want them to take risks, Tom. We grow up, and I've told you this before, we grow up in a society where we always have our helmets on. We've always got our knee pads and our elbow pads on when we're on a bicycle and all of that. I grew up when we didn't have seat belts in cars. And I understand that there's risk, and it's good having helmets on, and I know people get killed, but we've raised this generation to be so risk averse. And I just want them to know, hey, in 100 years, there's a good chance you're all going to be dead. Do something.
I'm all about risk. Like, we have this kind of rule that every time there's an opportunity to take risk, you should take it. And sometimes you don't even want to do it and you have to force yourself to do it. But every opportunity, and it's not every opportunity to make, to do something with crazy, negative odds and things like that. It's just every opportunity where you think that, you like your chances, then take the risk no matter what. And the few times that you're wrong, it doesn't matter, because you're going to be right way more, because things just tend to work out for people. And I think I can't stress it enough. Learning how to take risk is the single most important thing you'll ever do in your life.
And what I like about what my biggest takeaway from our conversation today, Tom, is this. You didn't know anything about the, putting together the technical aspect of Thinkorswim. You just kind of knew what you wanted to do. You did not allow limitations to define your dreams.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I think that's very fair. I think, there are certain things, like if you're an athlete, as an example, you're a professional athlete, there are physical limitations. You might, I've always wanted to dunk a basketball, but I'm physically unable, so there are definitely limitations to certain things we can do physically, but there aren't limitations to what we can think. I think all of us are smart enough and creative enough and innovative enough that you're right. I don't think you should ever be or ever feel like you're limited in any way, shape, or form.
Hey, before I open it up to questions, there's just a couple of things I wanted to ask you too, Tom. Tell to us about the future of crypto. Where do you think that's going?
I'm obviously I'm bullish on digital assets. I'm bullish on the future of crypto, but I feel like we're in a very difficult regulatory environment right now, and we need some help. We need the regulators to finally get off their butts and provide some clarity, because firms are going to be very reluctant to get into the space, into the digital asset space, unless there's some regulatory clarity, and it needs to happen soon. They've already sat on their butts way too long. The regulators have, and we need to move forward. I think that the software and the technology that drives the digital asset marketplace is unstoppable, and it's never going to go away. And that's an asset class that's never going to go away. But the only thing that can derail it in the short term is just really poor regulations and really poor regulator decisions, and political decisions that just don't make any sense. That's the only fear I have. Other than that, Web3, NFTs, blockchain, just the whole deal. I'm a Super Bowl. I'm not giant long crypto right now. Just, I own a bunch of Bitcoin and ETH and a few other altcoins, but it's not, it's a tiny position relative for me. It's just, I am bullish on the space, and we are committing. We just built our first crypto wallet. So we just launched it called Tasty Crypto, which is our own self-custody wallet. We're I'm investing in other businesses right now where we're building our own blockchains. I mean, I'm very bullish on the space. I just don't know what to think in the very short term.
Artificial intelligence, this Chat GPT, I was talking to students about it the other day. What does that, where does that play into our future?
Well, I mean, I think as a society, it plays a big role. There's no question that, that AI and machine learning will play a huge role in society. With respect to the markets, I don't see it playing a big role at all. I think that, you have to realize, in order for artificial intelligence or machine learning to be effective, there has to be some inefficiency in the marketplace. So the inefficiency, like, when you ask it a question, the inefficiency is that it's too slow to, we're too slow to answer, with all the facts. We have to look things up. We have to write it out ourselves. I mean, there's all this crazy inefficiency, and there's all this ARB opportunity available in almost every industry and every, ChatGPT just kills it in that regard. But with financial markets, they're random, they're unpredictable. There's virtually zero inefficiency because there's so much money chasing returns that I don't see how artificial intelligence plays a role, or machine learning plays a role in the financial markets. I do see it playing, maybe it plays a role in marketing and things like that, but I don't see it playing a role in trading. But I do think it plays a role in our lives in a big way.
One more question, Tom, before I turn it over to the students. One of the first things that we did in the class was have the students sell a put, right? So is there any plan at all to have some type of paper trading ability with that some of us educators could then use for our students that may not have accounts at present to be able to participate and to learn?
We'd actually like to. We haven't built it yet because we built it on our last platform, and it's a pretty big resource drain, and we're trying to keep our technology lean. But the reason we really haven't built it is it's just resources. We have so much stuff in the dev queue that we're trying to figure out. Like I don't. It's just where do we put our resources? Do we put our resources into building a paper trading or a virtual platform, or do we put our resources into building more front end technology for existing customers? And it's just dev resources. That's all it comes down to. So it has nothing to do with the technology or anything like that. I mean, the idea of selling a put as your first trade, of course, like that's kind of the go-to way to get introduced to this business on so many different levels. Introducing the Greeks, introducing risk, introducing basis reduction, all that stuff. So I love what you're doing, but it's in our queue. We haven't started building it yet.
Okay, got it. All right. So Krista says she's excited that you're bringing the tour to Denver. So you got someone in Denver that'll be able to come out and see you there.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're going to be in Denver in November. It's a long time from now, but we'll be out there in November. We're also going to be in two places that we didn't mention on here. We're going to be in Washington, D.C. For a futures options discussion, and also in Austin, Texas for the same, and also London. But keep going. Sorry.
Okay, no, good. So anyone got any comments or questions for Tom? This is your chance to ask someone who's been very successful. I probably should have asked you about some of your failures as well, Tom. We didn't get to a lot of that, but I'm sure there's been setbacks along the way as well.
Yeah, there's been about 1 million of those.
Yeah,
So, I got good stories on that. That come to the bad trader, you hear more of them.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Tom? Don't be shy.
And you can hear Bobby also. My email is tom@tastytrade.com. I'm sorry, tastylive.com. So tom@tastylive.com. Anybody, because I got to jump because I got to go on air in a couple minutes.
Sure.
But anybody's welcome to at any time send me a note, and just if you have a question on trading, you have a question on the business, like we want to help you guys. And we're always also, I mean, I should throw this out there. If there's somebody, we're looking for grad students that are interested in the world of finance, that potentially might want to live in Chicago, that are interested in certain aspects of the business. We're always also, I mean, I'm a promoter, but I'm also sometimes a recruiter. So I don't want to close the door on that either. So if you think you're really interested, you might be a perfect fit for Tasty, drop me a note.
By the way, I hear that the greatest intern ever at Tasty is in the room with us. Quentin is in the room with us.
Quentin was, yes, he's Alabama. I think he's graduating right now. Love Quentin. Known him since he was probably, I don't know, 12 or 13 years old. And he interned for us was it last summer? Last summer. Yeah, it was last summer. And it was our first University of Alabama, our first University of Alabama intern. And that was awesome. And he did a great job. The only thing that was a bummer was that it was kind of still the pandemic. So we weren't, it was just one of those weird times when, we like interns in person. And that was one of the times when it was like, it was remote, and I know that happens a lot nowadays, but hopefully, in the future, we do hire interns, but you have to be a junior.
Okay,
But
great.
Quentin was amazing, and shout out Quentin. Hope all's going well.
Hey, Tom, in conclusion, could you field one question from Isabel? And then we'll let
Isabel,
you go.
go ahead.
Hi, in the beginning, you said that you wanted to teach things to people. So what would, for someone that's like brand new coming in, what is the first thing that you would teach them?
Well, are you talking about in like
In
finance?
the industry, yeah, just in the finance industry. What, if they didn't have any knowledge, what would you teach them first?
Well, so the most important thing to understand about finance is that like none of this is too complicated, but it's really on you to, to immerse yourself and engage yourself in, in whatever you at least find interesting for the start in finance. But I would say the most important thing, if you want to be successful in the world of finance, is think about things with respect to the speed at which you make decisions. This is my personal pet peeve. And what I love about, young, smart people is I really look for people that can make decisions. And so as you begin to immerse yourself, like just, download a trading platform, watch a little Tasty, just get yourself comfortable with, make sure you like watching markets, make sure that kind of stuff, turns you on and is fun for you. But then, try your hand at, making quick decisions and being decisive. I think that's the key to really a long career in finance, a long and scalable career in finance.
Thanks so much, Tom. We appreciate it so much and look forward to seeing you in Atlanta in May 13th.
Thanks, Bobby. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Bye, Tom.